And welcome to the Music City Mindset. This week it's going to look a little bit different, but it's going to be a really good episode. I'm really excited for y'all to dive into our guest when he gets here, but we're going to have to start without the guest because my co-host is a very important person. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how important he is. The Nashville native, local legend, Tennessee State Tiger, but
he's the best.
Getting ready for the Lipscomb Academy Mustangs season, which is why he's going to have to jet up out of here. Just learned that he helps call the defense. New fact about that, so we're going to dive into that. Mr. Deon Giddens.
Man.
What's up, dude?
I will give you the money after we get off camera.
All right.
You're the best. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's busy right now, man. So I'm kind of work next hand in hand with the defensive coordinator for Lipscomb, but we played last week on Thursday, which is kind of unusual. We play a great team out of Alabama tomorrow, so we're getting ready for that. So excuse my absence. I'll be parting out a little bit early, but Blake and I guess they'll make sure we hold it down. But looking forward to a great show.
So was there a difference? Because I've been around a lot of really good DBs. Really good DBs, you get put out on that island a lot.
Oh, yeah, the island.
So you get focused in on that wide receiver right here in front of you, blinders on, nothing else matters except for that person in front of you. What have you had to change about your mindset to be able to look at it from a defense as a whole, almost like that coordinator position and helping call the defense when you've been so used to just focus on that person in front of you?
Well, just understanding that you got to see the big picture, no matter what. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a chess match, right? So I tell people who are not familiar with football, well, you see the guys moving, you see, it looks chaotic, but it's organized chaos. So just narrowing it down from one person to the whole 11, it's game planning and the mindset that, like, you know what, everybody has to do their job, even though this single guy is important. But it's the only sport I feel like, to me, I might be a little biased, but you can have 10 people doing the right thing, one person doing the wrong thing, and you lose.
Yeah.
You can cover it up in basketball, you can cover it up in other sports, team sports that is, but football, one person can do their job wrong, everybody else can do it right, and you still lose.
I've referred to football as the only true team sport.
I believe so. I mean, if you think about it in that aspect, I mean, it does take
obviously
a team.
I'm biased as well.
Well, I mean, I am biased, but I've played other sports, right? So
yeah.
I've done the individual sports. I've done, I participated in track. I did basketball all throughout high school, plus football. But I still truly to my heart, I feel like football is the ultimate team sport, hands down.
So when do you think you were able to see the big picture? Has that been development over your career of going high school, college, league? When do you feel like you really capitalized on being able to see the biggest of the big picture? Is that something you've just had to really dive into that craft as a coach?
It helped that I played both sides of the ball.
Okay.
So I'm one of those DBs that, I got recruited at coming out of high school as a wide receiver. I got recruited as a running back, and I got recruited as a DB. So I had different scholarship offers for different schools. So the University of Kentucky, the Wildcats recruited me as a wide receiver. So I say that people are like, well, you mean it didn't go? But I just didn't want to play offense anymore. So I chose TSU, which ended up working out for me. But playing both sides gave me a better. But shout out to TSU.
Yeah.
But it gave me a better understanding of just the whole game as in whole. So when I got to the defensive side of the ball, I kind of understand what the wide receiver is doing or what the offense is trying to do to us. So the mindset, of course, it made it expand. It made me just kind of lock in on the knowledge as a whole from both sides. But I think just playing both sides of the ball, it gave me the ability to kind of look at it from a different perspective.
So I'm kind of, as difficult as scheduling might be right now, I'm actually glad that you're locked in on football with your season and your players, because we have times like this where we can actually finally have someone that I can really talk football with. Been waiting. It was a long off season. I mean, the Olympics got me through, but we're here now. As much as I love special teams, it's where my heart is. DBs are some of my favorite players that I've ever been around.
Man, it's tough.
And what I've noticed, and I want to talk about your transition of really focusing on defense, because what I've noticed with some of the really good DBs I was around was this cat and mouse game that they would play. Because if you're a really good lockdown corner, you might not get the stats that back up your performance, because if they just don't throw to your side, you don't get the balls defended, you don't get the interceptions, you don't get the tackles, because they're going so far away from you. So I know with Dominique, he learned how to really hone in that craft of playing off, allowing the receiver to think that he won so he could close in, because if he didn't do that, they weren't throwing to even his half of the field.
Right.
So what kind of things did you have to develop focusing on defense? Because in high school, if you were playing running back, wide receiver, returning stuff, defense, like damn near not coming off the field, you got plenty of action, so you really weren't necessarily honing in on one thing to make sure you get the stats. And obviously, as we now know, you went on professionally, so you obviously did something right. So what was that like for you?
I mean, I'm not DRC, so shout out to Dominic. That's my guy,
dude.
Roger Scramati, man. He was a
one of one
dog. Yeah, so I'm not that. So let's be clear on that. But we he has perfected that craft as you speak of. But for me, I can do both. Like I can do both man and zone. So I was good on disguising. I'll say that.
Okay.
So I could disguise that as well, right? So it ended up getting me to a place where I got good at just picking up the balls. But the plus for me in my era when I played, we had great corners, right? So the year before I got there, both our corners went to the combine, and they both were rated top 10 in the nation, which is unheard of at HBCU. So y'all don't understand what I'm saying. Like, this is a huge deal. So one was ranked number 5 in the nation, one was number 7. But that's who I learned behind. Well, one of my guys was ineligible the following year, so I had to come up and play as a redshirt freshman with the guy who ended up going to the Cincinnati Bengals. And he just taught me a lot about how to play the game, how to practice, how to look at certain things. Then the following year, my other guy, he ended up going to the Chicago Bears. So I've had 2 years back-to-back with pro guys showing me, like, what to look at, how to dissect it, film, how to practice, so on and so forth.
So you were, even throughout the first, couple years, you were always the guy having to step up. So you probably got a lot of balls thrown your way because they were looking at you as not being as good as what was there.
Great segue. So to your point, I got targeted, right?
Yeah.
And so the freshman comes in, you throwing his way.
Yeah.
But I started capitalizing on some of those opportunities, right? So end up being top 10 all time in TSU history with interceptions with 11. I think I might be tied with Dominic actually, but.
People just went away from him.
But that's the difference. Imagine if they win at him.
Yeah.
I got thrown it.
Yeah.
So it's different. It's different. But I had my other boy, man, my brother, man, Scott Cunningham. So he ended up going to the Tennessee Titans. So we had 2 corners on each side. So it kind of evened out, right? He was all OBC performer 2 years in a row. So was myself. So it's one of those things like I had a partner in crime with me to make it a little bit better. But I got thrown it. I just started capitalizing on the opportunity in a nutshell.
Man, that's a quarterback's nightmare right there.
You
think you're targeting the weak link.
Right.
Because
I started as a freshman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is, I tell people,
that's
I tell my
as
guys
a corner.
now, it's unheard of.
Yeah, that's not what you want.
Yeah, but corners are to me, and I still might be a little biased, but I think it's true. I think it's the toughest position on the field. Outside of QB, right? Quarterback, as far as just the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Just learning the playbook before just physically and skill set. It's hard to say that somebody has a harder job than playing DB or corner in a sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Hard, different, because I wouldn't say that a DB is the quarterback of the defense.
Right.
But as far as skill level,
I'm talking to strictly skill, right?
Because you could not have the best legs, you could not have the strongest arm, but if you got a decent offensive line and everything that's about to happen, you can put the ball where you need to go, check down.
We can roll.
All of that.
And rhythm, right?
DB.
DB, you can't hide.
You can't hide.
So we was talking the other day at practice, right? So we were just saying, that's the only position where when the ball's in the air, all 80,000 people are just honed and locked in on the wide receiver and the DB. Everything stops, and they wait to see what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So that's tough.
That NFL films slow spiral.
Yeah, and it's coming, right? So but it's one of those things you got to have it got to be forgettable in a good way, right?
Yeah.
The mindset. The mindset has to be one of those all right, you know what? I'm cocky but not arrogant. You know what I mean? The ego has to be there. You have to be.
You have to be,
hands down. I got to know that I feel like I'm better than you no matter what you do.
I'd rather have a corner that's going to take some chances, but the arrogance a little bit says that's telling me that you believe in yourself without you having to tell me.
Which you have to play this.
You have to.
There's no way. Like, you have to. And I tell people all the time, like, Deion Sanders is who he is for a reason. Like, this is really him. But he had to be that based on the job he had to perform and what he had to do. So, I like it. You know what I mean? I like it. But it's a difference, though, right? So
but not everybody wants that.
But it's not for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And as coaches, we know that, like, this might not work for you. At DB, you might want to go do something different.
Now, on that arrogance, I asked this question hesitantly. Do you think you could have made it to the league if you would have gone to UK and played offense?
Yes, I think running back. I think running back was probably my best position. So I had like 2 or 3 offers at running back too. But I think that
Did you think that then?
I did, actually. I did. But I just looked past this playing running back, right? Because I just felt like I didn't want to be beat up. My body was I just feel like I
in
didn't
a weird, humble way.
Yeah.
That's arrogant as fuck. that you. No, let's trace this back, dog.
Yeah,
like,
I'm serious.
Like,
some people didn't even know I played corner. Like, if people running to me now, they're like,
you
why did you run the ball?
actively chose
Yeah.
to play the position you're not as good at to try to capitalize your career.
I wouldn't say not as good at, but to your point, I feel like the longevity of the position just outweighed running back. I mean,
what style runner were you?
I can run between the tackles.
Okay.
But see, I ran a 4.3 in high school. So at the camp is why they started recruiting me in Kentucky, right? So I think I was 17 at the time.
So you had the speed to hit the corner, but you weren't afraid to.
No, I was a pilot. So we played a wing T at Glencliff, which is ancient history.
Did y'all play Hillsborough?
We did. So
did you play against Tibbs?
No, I don't think so. No.
He might have been a little bit younger.
Yeah, maybe younger. Keep my last year in high school was 99. No, they all younger than me. Way younger.
Okay.
But I know all those guys though, right? I know you're talking about.
Tibbs ran so high.
Yeah.
But he would just.
So I know Fridge, right? I may or may not know Tibbs, but yeah.
Fridge is that dude.
Yeah, but that type of style runner, right?
Yeah.
Like he can go between the tackles, he can still hit the edge. For his size, it's kind of like it's shocking to see him move like that. But he ended up coming to TSU too. Fridge came to TSU for a year. Yeah. But it's one of those things where I just didn't want to get beat up. You know what I mean? I suffered a couple injuries already in high school, ankle injuries and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? Let's just play defense.
Do you think that came from like overuse of just you and your body of playing multiple positions, both sides of the ball?
I think it's one of those things that just happens, right? So I think it was more of a mindset of I play through anything. I broke my thumb my freshman year, played with that. Back then they didn't separate private school and public school.
Yeah.
In a division, right? So we were in a division with Brentwood Academy, who they were ranked top 25 in the nation at the time. So I had 2 years of playing them along with Lincoln County and all these other county schools, which, everybody goes to this one school and just kind of make an all-star team essentially.
Yeah.
So that was my competition. Which
I hated playing Brentwood. BA was
it grew me up, you know what I mean? But at the same time, yeah. But it was fun though. It's fun. Yeah.
How has high school ball evolved? And I know it's probably.
Oh man, it's crazy.
But do you still have some of those athletes that plays both ways, things like that, or because now in college, a Travis Hunter is
well,
a completely different animal, and you don't see it as much.
Right.
So I feel like the trickle down effect is you have kids, especially with these NIL deals, wanting to focus on one thing that they're good at.
Right.
But you're in the trenches there.
Yeah. So I mean, I try to tell my kids, man, that playing multiple sports, number one, it can only help you. It only helps you, right? So as the football season approaches, I kind of tell them to kind of start laying low off of the other stuff, kind of focus more on football. But I mean, it's treated like college now.
Yeah.
I know in Lipscomb, our curriculum and our protocol, the way we have everything set up, is geared towards college and the pro style. Thanks to NFL guys coming in and taking head coaching jobs. My first year over there, I was with Trent Dilford, who called me up and asked me to be a part of the program. And I mean, you can't say no to Trent. You know what I mean? So
no.
Won a state title that year. My corner now, he was up for Mr. Football 2 years in a row, which is unheard of at cornerback. So he's playing at UT. This will be his first year at UT. So Caleb Beasley, man, shout out to him. So looking for him to have a good year. Edward Spillman, who's there too, Lipscomb guy at UT. I mean, Junior Sherrill. He won Mr. Footballs over at Vandy. Brian Longwood. I mean, Mark Johnson. We sent out a lot of guys, and I'm just not name dropping. These guys are good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but to get to that level, we treat it like college.
Right.
college.
So treating it like college.
Meaning weight room,
Yeah.
academics, meal plan.
But you don't have as many athletes playing both ways.
Right. So how he did that, which was unheard of for me when I got there. I'm like, wait a minute, these guys don't play both ways, and they don't. Maybe one or two guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In my era, the whole 11 or 10, 9 guys played both ways. But they'll play some special teams. But as far as just starting on offense and defense, no. To your point,
because I think being able to play multiple sports is very different than playing multiple positions.
Oh, man, absolutely.
The wear and the tear in your body in a short amount of time versus,
it's hard.
Distributing that throughout the year.
Yeah, we got one of my guys right now, man. So this year, Bo Strickland, he's a baseball guy. So he just committed to UT Martin for baseball, but he's one of our best players on offense and defense in football. So he'll start getting more of the scholarship off of football this year too. I got a safety this signed with LSU, committed to LSU. So we putting them out, man. But you don't see a lot of guys at this level now in high school that play both ways,
right,
and excel at it.
It's one thing, even like Mookie, some of them that are having to pick like picking versus you of like picking between different sports for their scholarships, their contracts versus picking different positions of the same sport.
Right.
I mean it's
different. It takes a lot. You got to think about it.
It's like people wanted Tebow to play tight end.
Right, which he stuck to his guns though, right? Which I respect that though. You know what I mean? So the good thing about it, I didn't get a lot of flack.
Would he had a better career
at tight end?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. I think he just got blackballed, honestly. At the time that he was performing, I still think he's one of the best. You get it's 2 quarterbacks on every team. Some have 3. I find it hard to believe that Tebow at that time was not in that tier 2 category, at least. Especially if you keep 3 quarterbacks. He's a 3rd quarterback. It is what it is.
And we don't have to go down too much of this if we don't want to. Do you think it's about what he stood for or the overall the attention that it brought?
I think it's both. I mean,
really?
I think when you follow Christ and you make that stance like that, which, I'm a man of God, I believe that. The way he publicly displayed it at that time for society, it wasn't, they weren't welcome to it, that's just my personal opinion, right? But I do feel like that, outside of that.
But then you fast forward to Cap,
yeah, same thing. And he stood for some,
So, but I don't say that social injustice is not
right.
is very different than religion. You don't have to be religious or not to
stand
for social injustice.
Right.
But it both almost ended up in what you could say is a blackball in those situations.
Absolutely.
And so that more or less communicates to me that it's more about, more of the shut up and dribble kind of conversation as opposed to what it's actually about.
Right. Which is what they can do, right? Because it's like being a puppet master at some point at that level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it was hard to believe that him being who he was in college couldn't make it couldn't cut it in the league. But it also seems to me that as someone who was definitely raised in church, that having that kind of platform and the John 3:16 on the eye black, that would make someone so mad.
But think about that.
You wouldn't want to deal with it.
Think about that. I mean, he's been doing it since Florida. This is not new.
No, it's not new.
So
he was doing it in high school.
You knew who you were getting when you got him. That's my thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You already knew this. You know what I mean? So to the point that where you're like,
so there were no surprises.
It's not a surprise. That's my it's no surprise.
So it's hard for me to believe that it was
something else to it.
Yeah, there has to be something else to it because I could fall more in line and understand that it was the attention that it was bringing more so than what actually standing up for Christ.
Right.
But it did seem kind of...
It was weird.
Kind of strange.
It was very strange to me.
And again, not that I think that they're aligned or misaligned in any kind of way. I don't think there's any correlation. But it seems to me that the people that were mad about Cap would have, celebrated Tebow.
It's one of those things where you got to pick. I mean, you got to think about it.
I just saw you really thinking about it for a second.
Because you have to though, right? Because it can be, you don't want to turn everything to a black-white thing, you know what I mean, or something like that. But
But you had a white dude standing up for Christ, and they were mad. But then you had a black dude standing up for black people, and it's like.
But they got mad too.
And they still got mad.
Yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying. Like when you have both of those avenues and both of those things happening, it's a telltale sign that it's bigger than anything.
Yeah.
That we can bring to the
How
forefront.
do you bring that back to the Mustangs?
Mustangs, all right.
Yeah. Everything's a trickle down effect.
Mm-hmm.
So how have things like that affected, especially when the NIL money, when people are wanting to be younger, when they're starting their brands and being able to stand for something, and that separates them from any other athlete in the country? How have things like that? How have you seen it affect the youth in like almost the hesitancy to stand for anything?
Well, the thing is, because they had these examples already before them, they kind of can navigate a little bit better. And then for me, on the coaching staff, having these type of conversations with kids, you know what I mean, just to the side, or just knowing, hey, it's bigger than football at some point, right? This is a small part of your career, but we do want to.
Did you ever have a coach do that with you?
Yeah, at some point they pulled me to the side, like, you know what? I think it was my freshman year in high school. After I performed that level, they was like, you know what? You can be like one of the first guys at Glen Cliff to like get a scholarship in probably like the last 10 years. We just had a 10-year gap where we just weren't good. So 10 years prior to that, I think to the year, they went to the playoffs and had a good undefeated season, I believe. Got to go back and check that. But they had a really good squad. So after my freshman year, public school in Nashville in the 90s, is drugs everywhere. You know what I mean? Like the Titans weren't here, so drug dealing was the thing to do. You know what I mean? So we got a lot of guys on the team who, only went to class or summer school just to get through football season, then they won't go to class again. But they knew they can go to summer school and be eligible, and then they do it all over again. So we just had a string of that going on. Great guys, like looking back on them, man, we probably would have had, I don't know, 6, 7 guys before I even went to college that could have came out before me if they just would have did the right thing. So I take those experiences and I kind of just, pump it into my guys over at Lipscomb, man, because it's a different atmosphere, of course, right, environment-wise. Public school and private school, especially in the era that I went to school in the late 90s, versus now, it's completely different.
Did you get nervous before games playing?
I still do, yeah. Even as a coach, I still get nervous.
I was going to say, is it different now?
I thought it would be, but no.
Yeah.
Maybe even worse now because I can't control the outcome on the field, right? I had to just trust what I put into the guys and just let them perform. You know what I mean? So that's hard. But I still get nervous, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
I did some coaching with the local women's tackle football team.
Which they're amazing. They practice over at Lipscomb too, right?
The Trojans. Shout out the Trojans.
Shout out to the Trojans, man.
We had some things going on where I had to like step in as offensive coordinator for a game. Man, you can have that, dog.
Well, I don't. So the thing is this, right? I don't actually call the defense per se, right? Coach Blade, Scott Blade, who was great. That's our D coordinator, who actually he won, I want to say 2 state titles here in Nashville with 2 different schools, Hillsboro and also with Independence. So he's good. Yeah. So I'm just kind of like underneath him. So he makes the final call on all that stuff, but with my experience and what I've done, he just trusts what I do. Yeah. Which is great, right? So he comes in like, hey, I know you can handle this.
But I mean, it seems like the everything's being put in place that like eventually, whether it be here or somewhere else, like you're honing that in to be able to do that one day.
Yeah, if it was what I told him all the time, man, I didn't. So the thing about
but that's why you're a DB and you're ready for that pressure.
The funny part about it though, like I ran from I didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
I never wanted to coach.
I didn't either.
Like ever, you know what I mean? Like I probably had maybe 5 different opportunities to do it before I started. So this will be my 3rd year at Lipscomb. My only time I've ever been a coach.
And when was the last time you walked off the field as a player?
2008. Right, so I graduated college in 2003. Yeah. And I had like a 5-year run, post college, pro, and arena, and so on and so forth. But 2008 was my last time actually strapping them up, putting them on. But my wife bought me a pair of Deon Sanders cleats for Father's Day, right? Yeah. So I feel pretty good if I put those on right now. Yeah. I don't know what I can do. Maybe 2 plays, maybe a drive at the most. But yeah, that's all I got right now. I mean, at that level,
with the tough. Right cleats on, good luck convincing me I can't run through that wall right now.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, the prime time, shout out to Prime, man. My wife, man, she hooked me up, man. So yeah,
that's
dope.
What's up.
They dope.
Why didn't you want to jump into coaching immediately? I have my reasons, so I'm
Well,
curious
as a
about
gym owner, right, yourself, right?
Yeah.
So for me, at that time, when I was getting asked, I had my brick and mortar. So I
Mm.
didn't want to walk away from everything I feel like I was trying to build and pursue on the business side of things to go pursue something that at the time I feel like it would just get in the way
Mm.
of what I was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't want to cap on anything that I had going on, right? So that's why I didn't go into coaching. Coaches get fired, bad season, everybody's gone. But I've been blessed enough to be able to just bring it back to the Mustangs over at Lipscomb. This is my third year. I've had 3 different head coaches. So I've been one of the few guys that have been retained over the 3 years. So
That says something.
yeah, so it's like, I'm doing something right. But I feel like it would get in the way at first, but now I see it just magnified and just kind of opened up and, actually gave me more opportunities when I think about it. You know what I mean? That coaching
Are there
versus
any
not.
like mental, psychological struggles you went through or comfortable sharing about in that transition from you being a player to then, you mentioned your brick and mortar and wanting to go in with that. Like, was there anything like kind of going on between your ears of like?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, you're scared to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a leap of faith in a nutshell. That's all it is, right? So either I went all in with football, it's like, all right, I want to do this. Knowing you're doing it, I always was pound for pound one of the strongest guys on the team. So I had the background already without even knowing I had it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that happened. I started training people, and then just to make that transition, it's like, man, a lot of guys struggle with it because they feel like football or the NFL or just what it's your identity, which is not. And that's why
I was one of those.
Yeah, I mean, but it's easy to do, right?
Yeah.
You get caught up in it, and what comes with it.
I didn't have shit else going for me. So
I mean,
it's
that's what I'm saying. Like so I tell people all the time, right? Some people like football, some people love it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people actually need it.
Yeah.
You got to know the difference of who you're dealing with, and as yourself, know who you are. Like, do I love it? Is it something I need? I know I wouldn't have been able to graduate college if I didn't get a football scholarship. My parents didn't have money to pay for me to go to school.
Yeah.
So, with the right grades and doing what I did, I made that work. But some people don't. And then they get to college and they're good. They're great. But they get to the NFL and everything's handed to them, is given to them. We all sport in a nutshell.
It's a job. It goes from a game to a job.
But it's a job, right? It's a job. So nobody's going to hold your hand. Nobody's going to try to motivate you, pep talk you. They expect you, once you get to the league, it's self-motivation. Yeah. It's a reason why you're here, but it's also a reason why we will cut you. Because it's 20 more guys that do the exact same thing you do. And that's the mindset you got to have. Like, it's the dog mentality.
There's still some things that I haven't really fully processed about my football career. And I've been waiting to actually like ask you this. And obviously you can't really answer like a hypothetical or anything like that.
I'll try.
But I wanted so bad to just say I had the shield.
Right.
And I never got there. So when I retired, I actually had like a really bitter relationship with football as a whole, to the point where even though I played arena and played professionally.
That's pro.
It is.
Yeah.
But at the time, because it wasn't that 6-figure contract, because I wasn't able to get my mama that car, I still felt like I failed because my goal was the NFL.
Right.
And so I would rather not to not even tell you that I played football. This is back then.
Oh, no, I get that.
Because if I told you back then, the way my brain worked is if I told you I played football, which I'd have to tell you to do if we were talking about me doing a coaching job, then I would have to tell you that I failed.
But that's just how your brain worked, right?
Exactly. That was how my brain worked. And I mean,
too.
there was a lot of like, I was one of those that wrapped that up into my identity.
Yeah.
And it was almost like no matter what kind of bad, criminal drug stuff that I got involved with, nothing could overshadow the fact that I was this football player. It was my identity. It's what took everything away. But with that, one of the things that my girlfriend now has challenged me to think about is like, as bad as you think it was because you didn't get there and you're having to deal with the fact that you didn't get where you wanted to go, what would have been worse, to get there and to not do anything, or to not get there at all?
I mean, it's not like I'm a first round draft pick. I was a free agent,
right?
And I didn't stay long, so it's not the same thing. I didn't accumulate the wealth, quote unquote, what people might think. Especially back then, like everything goes up, right? Money goes up. How you get paid goes up each year. you know, it's. I mean, this sounds crazy. I came out of college 20 years ago. That's crazy to me to hear me say that. But with that being said, it's like, you know, I had to like earn it and work. So, you know, 1 year tops, you know what I mean? And then finish the whole year. I got cut. So for me, it's like, yeah, I was good enough to get there, but I also felt the same way. But go back to that arrogance.
So when people bring it up,
yeah,
and you didn't really have this like, you know, 8 year,
Yes, I mean, so, you know, I still have magazines at home that I'm in as far as like, all right, here's the roster, here's the rookies that we signed this year, so on and so forth. It's cool to look at, whatever, but to me, I still never fulfilled the dream that I had for NFL, just in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to get signed and, you know, you practice, you do all this stuff, but it's another thing to have this, you know, this long career that you making plays every Sunday. So look, I didn't get a chance to do that part of it. So for me, it was like, all right. But I knew I was good enough. There's a difference because I actually got a taste of it. I saw it.
Yeah.
I'm in the locker room with, you know, Drew Bledsoe. And, I mean, the team in Buffalo that year was crazy. They didn't draft a single defensive person in 04. So that's how good the defense was. I mean, people might not remember these names, but, I mean, you're talking about London Fletcher. You're talking about the Keo Spice, Nate Clemens, Pat Washington. I mean, Lloyd Malloy, who came out of New England. Drew Bledsoe was there. His first year in Buffalo after he left. After Tom Brady took over in New England, well, the next year was in Buffalo.
What was Spike's like? Because watching him play in college,
man, true story.
It seemed like I wanted to just be in the same room as him.
Have you seen his neck, right?
Yeah.
It's traps up to here.
I was going to say, actually, I don't think I've seen his neck.
Yeah, right. He doesn't have a neck.
Yeah.
So we in practice one day, and I'm a rookie. It's like maybe the first week or two I'm there, and we do special teams drill, and how did I ended up with Tequila Spikes? I don't know. So I'm holding the bag, and the drill is like kind of punching shed. So I'm like, I had to just tell him, hey, man, please don't hit this bag. Like, don't make me fall on this bag. Yeah, you good, Rick. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Super cool guy.
Yeah.
But, like, there's so many guys, man, who they'll kind of tell you that, though, trying to help you not to get your mind wrapped up in the identity of the shield of the NFL. So, I had some good people, man, talking to me. And then a lot of my teammates, they went and played as well. So I lived through them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tell the guys now, my young guys, like, hey, you know what? That's the dream, but there's so much more you can get from it. Just think about the opportunities and the network that you can take from just the journey of football. And, and I mean, that's why we here, right?
Yeah.
That's why we here. Football, you know, it didn't go the way we planned, but you have a gym. I have training corner.
Yeah.
I'm coaching. I'm around it. I love it. I'm pumping to the kids.
I've got a much better relationship with the idea of football and the way it plays in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, and, you know, do this responsibly. But, like, I didn't even watch football when I was done. Like, I couldn't do it.
Oh, it's hard to.
Yeah. But it was actually sports gambling.
Yeah. They got you back.
They got me back into it because I had some buddies that were like, all right, you know, let's put some, you know, something on the, you know, the Bama LSU game.
Keyword responsibly.
Yeah. Gamble responsibly. But it was one of those where then if I didn't take that bet, I'd have to like, I'd have to admit.
Yeah.
And I'd have to admit that I ain't really been watching it like that. So I took the bet and then had to watch it, and there was like all of those feelings were like almost like more than I could contain because I didn't really watch football in a little bit, and so that kind of got me back into it. But yeah, it was weird like talking about it at first.
It's normal though. So I don't think people don't realize how like if you're not in this
Did
world.
Did he take it easy on you? He run through
no, heck no, he didn't run through me. No,
okay.
Thankfully he did not.
Right.
Nah,
he could have.
I could have killed me. He could have killed me. If y'all don't know Tequila Spice, man, go look him up, man.
So you, within that, because I don't know how comfortable you always are, like talking about your league experience when it is something that I can relate to in the sense of like didn't go how you wanted it to go.
Yeah, it didn't go how I wanted to at all.
But were you able to get enough that you got like a welcome to the league moment?
My guy called me and saw me on TV. You know what I mean? One of my teammates.
Yeah.
So. But I wasn't getting interviewed, right? But just the fact that the NFL Network was there, they were in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And I guess he told me I was walking behind the camera. We was going like to workouts or something like that. And my phone was just blowing up like, Ross, I saw you on TV. I saw you. So that was cool, man. Then there's just going and do like when you get to like open outside of the game, the fans come to the game, we know that. Yeah. But as far as just like open up practice to like a lot of people, like how the Titans do open scrimmages and whatnot. And then the first time you get a kid to ask for like your autograph, or the first time you get a kid to ask for gloves, or it's like I'm like I'm nobody. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
these are guys, but that was a big deal for me. You know what I mean? Small stuff to me was big. Going in the airport and getting a magazine, seeing your name in it, like that's huge coming from Nashville, man, and from Glencliff at that, man. So
Yeah.
that was big for me, man. And coming back, and then when I would come back, I would just try to give all my gear I'll go straight to Glencliff High School, to the weight room. I knew my guys was working out.
Mm-hmm.
Dump a bag on the floor. Y'all get what y'all want, gloves, whatever you want. So that's what I was doing, man. So yeah, that was my kind of come to realization that, you know what, I kind of made it a little bit.
Yeah.
Not the way I wanted to, but I kind of did a little something.
You became somebody.
I'm cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Not my identity, though, but just in the fact that when you set a goal and you actually get the opportunity to at least sign on the dotted line, at least to be up, at least to be in the mix, like that's cool. Yeah, that was cool.
I don't know how often you hear it now, but it's awesome.
I appreciate that, man.
It's really cool how you approach that and everything like that. The Mustangs, those DBs are very lucky to have you.
Man, they doing good too, man. Shout out to my guys.
Tell us a little bit more about the game, when it is, where it is.
Oh, man, look, so if y'all have anything going on tomorrow night, just cancel it. I'm telling you that, cancel it. Come to Lipscomb. We play a great team out of Alabama, Thompson. So 2 years ago, we actually went down to Thompson. It was an ESPN game. Huge game for us. They were ranked 15 in the nation, and we beat them at home in Alabama. This team is like the #1 team in Alabama, so that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
So they'll come up tomorrow night ready to go, ready to put a whooping on us because we beat them, and they actually lost last week too. So both of us are looking for our first win of the season. So
Gotcha.
It'll be a great game, right? So if y'all are in town, you'll hear about it. But y'all come through, check us out, man. Listen,
right. Well, best of luck.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I will definitely be keeping up with that.
Yeah, I need y'all at the game, man. You, Terry, all y'all got to check out the game before the end of the year's over with.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you got to come through.
Oh, for sure. All right. Well, best of luck to the Mustangs. Deon, I appreciate you. We're going to take a little break and hear from our sponsors. And welcome back. This episode, as I mentioned earlier, looks a little bit different. So I'm going to do this one here. I get the honor of introducing one of my very good friends. This is going to be pretty entertaining here. Our next guest. He is a singer-songwriter, director of entertainment of the TC Group, an Elwood, Indiana legend.
Elwood.
The one and only Old Greg himself, Mr. Jer Gregg.
Hey, give myself a round of applause.
Yeah. Everybody else left the room, so you got to. If you can't clap for yourself, who can you clap for?
Yeah, exactly.
Jer, welcome, bud.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So, I've been really excited about having you on because, especially like knowing the country music city scene.
Yep.
I don't feel like there's anyone who embodies the aesthetic and just the overall mindset of being like just the epitome of Nashville and the music scene, the whiskey jams, the bar scene, anything entertainment. I mean that and Jer Gregg go parallel with each other.
That's huge. Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only one that thinks that. How did you become that coming out of Elwood, Indiana? I don't even know where the hell that is.
Elwood. Well, I'll tell you where Elwood is. Elwood's just straight north of Indianapolis, about 45 minutes. Middle of nowhere.
Okay.
Absolutely middle of nowhere. Grew up in a log cabin in the woods. And for real. Yeah, I can't make this up. 200-year-old log cabin. And we can go down that road another day. But eventually I was playing music in Indianapolis, in and around Indianapolis, and then I started kind of dabbling out in like, Cincinnati markets and stuff like that. And then eventually one day I had a call from a friend that was like, hey, we're playing in Nashville and we need an opening act, and I heard you're in Tennessee. My family vacations over by Del Hollow Lake.
Okay.
And
love Del Hollow.
Been going there since my dad was like 9 years old.
Okay.
So all summer we would spend all summer over there, or several trips a year. Memorial Day, Labor
Would y'all
Day,
come to Nashville?
we wouldn't come to Nashville. We'd go over to Del Hollow.
Yeah.
So I was in Tennessee. So a friend, he just knew. His name was Tim Wilsbach, and he was like, I know you're in Tennessee. Is there any way you can come over and open this show? I was like, oh yeah, I'll make it happen, So like, I think I borrowed mom's car or something like that, or rented a car. I can't even remember now. It's been 17 years. So, but I got over to Nashville and I played a gig for like 10 people. And
do you remember where it was?
Oh yeah, it was on the Rocks.
Oh,
it was on the Rocks on Demumbrian.
Yeah.
Right. I can't remember which building that is now. I want to say it would be like Doghouse or maybe where Live Oak was. I know Live Oak just moved to Doghouse.
Yes.
So somewhere over there. Back when there were no buildings and it was just a gravel parking lot across the street.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And played like maybe for 10 people. And then a girl that was at the show that knew me from a Facebook group she'd come out to watch the show and she's like, "You ever been to Tin Roof?" I was like, "No, what's Tin Roof?" So we walk in there and this is shotgun hallway.
Yeah.
Tin Roof era. There's nothing to the left, just a bar, and then you go in the back. And I saw a cover band, and everybody in the band looked like, Keith Urban. And all the girls in the room, they looked like models, and the dudes all looked like they worked out 8 days a week. And I literally felt like this small, just looking up at everything, like, whoa, what is this? I felt like a kid like in a candy store or something like that, just like, whoa, just as Willy Wonka, you're walking through the chocolate factory. You're like, what? I've never seen anything like this. I was 23. And so I hung out there that night for a little bit, and just the excitement of music, and the band was playing cover songs, and I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. So I go back to the lake, obviously telling my family, go back to Indiana and make a plan. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to go. I got to go there there's music there. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know anybody, but I got to go. And
Had you ever had that urge before?
No. I was 23 years old, sleeping on my brother's couch in Indianapolis at that time, playing little random gigs. I'd went to college at a tech school, and I went and worked in the field as a tool and die maker. I was a machinist, and I was just like, this ain't for me. I can't do this. I got to go do something about music, and I'll work odd jobs to do that. So grab that story, and I'll fast forward you to now. But yeah, so that was 17 years ago. So I moved down, and then it was July. It was almost a little over 3 months, maybe 4 months. It was November. I came down right before my 23rd birthday, so I was 22. And then I moved by November, I think it was 10th, 2007.
Wow.
So this November will be 17 years.
That answer actually almost answered and segued into other things I've really been waiting to have some microphones to talk to you about.
Yeah. So
I was going to ask, obviously you've been in music. I know what you've done now, so I know some of the people you've gotten to meet and things like that. But I was going to ask the first time you felt starstruck meeting someone, and it almost sounds like you think more about that actual moment of seeing someone who wasn't even a star.
Yeah.
As even looking at your honestly, face when you went back to that moment, and that was beautiful to hear you describe.
It's a vivid memory. That memory has not changed. I'm like, whoa, that was life changing. It was literally just walking to say that walking in a bar was life changing. That was life changing. It literally changed my life. To go over there and go play some music.
Feel at home.
Yeah. Well, it felt exciting, and I felt like I can do this. I don't know if I'll ever be like these guys. It just, something about it told me, you gotta go. You've always felt like the black sheep, the ugly duckling, the black swan, whatever you want to call it. I mean, most of my family has blonde hair. I had dark hair. Those things were real for me, where I felt I don't belong here. I belong somewhere else with a tribe of people that are doing what I'm doing. And
how do you even go about processing that? Because so much about what we talk about here is obviously very positive and happy. But to then go back home and feel like this is the home, this is where I'm from. Yeah. This is where my friends, my family are. To then go back and feel like you don't belong there.
There was a really cool group of people that I was hanging out with, pretty much that last year before I left Indy. There was this, MySpace was big back then, and there was this group of people, and they had
your top 8?
Yeah, top 8. And don't knock down to, you were top 4.
Nobody here even knows what that is.
Now,
his face, he's like, what are they talking about?
You were top 4, now you're top 7. He didn't say anything. You just saw your picture slide down the list, man.
Tom stayed.
Yeah. there was a group called Indie Mojo at the time,
Yeah.
and they had their own website, and they had meetup groups and everything. And this guy Ryan Hupfer, who he's now done a lot of things out in Silicon Valley and things like that. Like he's gone on to go do a lot of great things. But he had put this group around, and I played a lot of shows, so they would bring a lot of people out. So I had this culture and community around me that was supporting live and local music there. But I still felt like there was more. I just, once I got down there, I realized once I got to Nashville, I realized, man, there's just something more here. And, so that was how I got here. To get to where I'm at now was a series of roller coaster rides and living life and, literally over a decade, almost 2 decades of stories and adventures.
Yeah.
From traveling the world several times, been to the UK several times, been to Australia several times, spent lots of time in Australia when I went there, 6 to 8 weeks at a time when I would go.
What's
Mick?
Mick.
Yeah. My buddy Mick, he just had a baby.
Oh,
He
hey,
just had a
congrats,
baby.
Mick.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
a weapon that dude is, man.
He's amazing.
God.
Yeah. I learned a lot from Mick, actually.
Really?
Mick was already doing a lot of cover shows and stuff like that, and he was playing in the Outback in Queensland, and he would find these places or festivals that needed music, so he'd be like, I'll bring it to you. So he'd bring the staging, the band,
Oh,
the
wow.
lights, the production, and then have this whole thing. So he's created his own entertainment company, which gave me kind of something to kind of go off of, but also taught me other ways to be an entertainer and stuff like that. So yeah, I learned a lot traveling,
Awesome.
picking these things up on the adventures.
So was there someone, because I did see your wheels turning of like being here with music, was there a moment that you ever felt struck, like the first time meeting someone that's like almost felt validating as like why you're even taking this chance and risking to Nashville? Or are you one that doesn't really get starstruck around those kind of people?
I mean, I think what more so, not that I was starstruck that they were there and excited to meet me or hear me or anything like that. More so like, whoa, I just met that person in person. Like, I met that person in real life. And it's been several, but I think the very first one I met was Randy Hauser, and he was sitting at the bar, and I was bar backing at Sambuca, and he was there with another guy, Cliff Aldridge, and they were back. I think this was when Universal South was still open and everything, and I had no money, and I was telling the bartender, he didn't know who the guys were, or at least who Randy was, and all of this stuff, and he's like, well, give him, you got a CD in your car? I said, yeah. And he goes, well, give him your CD and tell him that you'll cover their bar tab if they listen to your CD. And I go, damn, that's bold.
Yeah.
I was like, he goes, you got money to cover that? I go, if you have to. And I go, no. I was like, it was like $80 at the time of 2007. What's inflation now? You know, 150 at that time.
Yeah, I was gonna say $80 bar tab. I'd be happy if my bar tab the other night was $80.
I remember it was like $75 or something like I don't know, something crazy, but like
no tip.
Yeah, no tip. Sorry, dog. And I was shaking, and I had the CD, and they'd really enjoyed talking to me. They knew me by name and stuff, like, hey, Jeremiah. And I didn't act like I knew who they were or anything, and I said, hey, listen, guys, I had the tab in one hand, and in the check presenter, you know, I had the tab in one hand, and I had the CD in the other. And I said, listen, guys, I'll cover this bar tab if you listen to this record and you give me some honest feedback. And they looked at each other, and they're like, did some bitch really just do that? Like,
hell yeah.
And then they're like, no, we'll cover the tab and we'll give you the feedback, So
the relief.
I was like, thank God. I didn't know how I was going to pay for that thing, But so that was really cool.
That's awesome.
That was the first time I'd met a celebrity
at
that time. And so I just was like, I guess I just got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to shoot your shot.
Yeah, have to.
And then the record, the guy Cliff, he'd come out to a couple shows and we stayed in contact and stuff. But,
that's awesome.
That was a different part of the journey back then. But I don't think that there was really. I've met lots of different people. I think my favorite celebrity sighting though was Ronnie Dunn at a Verizon Wireless store losing his shit over his bill in Green Hills.
All of that tracks.
It was funny because I realized I was at the store just looking around.
Yeah.
iPhones were kind of the new thing, but they still had the razors,
Yeah.
and stuff. And I could hear somebody kind of pissed off in the back, talking to somebody.
Yeah.
Like, damn, this guy's really having a hard time. He's having
Yeah.
hard to go at it. And so finally, I'm kind of like, this is getting hot over here. So you start to look, but you just still don't want to be involved. And then I'm like, he kind of looks familiar. And then as he turned the corner and kind of looked up at me because he noticed I was standing over there and he's still yelling at the guy, I was like, that's Ronnie Dunn. But what humanized it for me was the fact that, like, we all got bills to pay and we all get pissed off at our bills.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a handler come down there and deal with his bill. He went down there to deal with it himself.
Wow. That's hilarious.
That was Nashville.
Yeah, that is
That's
Nashville. So, like you said, segueing to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
You're director of production. With putting people and talent in bars downtown, I feel like, in no disrespect to your job, because I know we're friends and I know what goes into it now. Yeah. But one of the things I'm curious about hearing your perspective on is that, like, I felt when I was on Broadway in the mid 2000s, someone could do that job and place talent where they needed to be. That was like not even their full-time gig, one of the owners or owner's friends, because at the time there was a line of people wanting to play on Broadway because they would want to be discovered on the bar.
Absolutely.
And be the next big thing. But now in the new age, when there's so many more bars and every bar has added floors and levels and rooftops.
Six floors to every bar now.
TikTok is a big thing. That's how people are getting discovered, through technology and stuff like that. Like, what is your take on the development of artist discovery, if you will, and how that's changed? When it used to be the big thing to, like, I had to get to Broadway so I could get discovered. Now there's so many more options available for people, and I'm glad those options are available. But what has that done for the talent of the artists that you see on Broadway, and how do you make them feel like they're not wasting their time playing at a bar?
I think there's two parts in that. One being, like you said before, how do you find, how do you get discovered in general? Okay. And some people did go down to Broadway to do that. Now people are going down there to work, to make a living. And where you can't really make a living on Music Row as a songwriter, there's so many issues. There's so much, nobody's making money off of streams or anything like that. So they're coming to me for jobs and working and gigging. But there are some of them that, they're utilizing TikTok and they're utilizing social media, and I've got several of them, and they're doing well, and several of them have gotten publishing deals, or have gotten onto TV shows, or have gotten onto the next thing, anything that's going to widen the view of them anywhere, whether that's on TV, social media, all these things, all of that. For me, finding talent to place in those bars, it has been a little bit more difficult.
I could see that.
But it's actually kind of coming full circle. Thankfully, a lot of people are believing in the fact that, like, I'm leading this, and I've had people just straight up come to me and say, "Hey, man, now that you're over there doing all of this stuff, I want to come work for you."
Wow.
And I had a phone call yesterday. A guy,
awesome.
And you definitely hit that point of, like, imposter syndrome again, where we all get that, but, like, it happens to me a lot because I'm like, me?
You're the guy, dude.
We were hanging out at Red Door 10 years ago, blacked out, whatever, and so now I'm their, boss, their subcontractors, but that's been really cool. There's also been, I do go out and source and find talent, and I use social media to do it. And then I'll go and see them live, and I'll see what they're putting on the internet, their presence, their charisma, and everything. If you can do that on a video online, then hopefully you can do that on stage.
Good show.
But sometimes that doesn't translate for 3.5 hours on stage.
Yeah, you got to be a good entertainer. Almost more important than being a talented singer.
There was a guy that came in, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's got tons of followers online, but he's a mashup guy. And he came up there and he was playing with one of our artists, and all he knew how to do was mash up songs and just do little bits of songs, to the point where it kind of upset the crowd.
Yeah.
And they're like, but we want to hear the whole song, not just the one chorus of this song. And I had to go back to her, because she was the band leader, and say, hey, can you get this guy to learn some of the songs fully?
So on the flip side of that, because we definitely don't want to put his name out there.
Yeah. It's still super talented. He just didn't.
To work a room. To work a room, it takes a totally different skill set.
Yep.
Who is somebody, whether it be someone working for you, I'm sure that would be the route to go, that's more up and coming, that you think could go and elevate from the bars to go somewhere else, that we all need to be on the lookout for?
Oh my gosh. I got quite a bit of really good talent, really, really, really good talent. I know that I've got Nick Walker's doing really great right now. He signed a deal with Interstate Music, and they're putting a lot of energy and time into him. But also, he's down here working 5 days a week for me.
Oh, wow. And
then he takes 3 days off in the middle of the week, and he does all their content filming and all that stuff for him while he's writing songs. Angie Ray's doing really great right now. She's out in L.A. working on some music. I think I mentioned this girl already, but maybe not. But Rachel Schumacher, she's been working on her artistry. I mean, I got to go down the list, though. Like, I've got 135 acts.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I got Brian Thomas, Mark Burke, Will Donat.
It's so crazy, because when I was like down at Tootsie's and stuff like that, there was like like 2 night bands that alternate weekend nights, and then you had like some day bands, and like I knew all of them by name, and like now you've got like triple digits down there.
Yeah,
it's the evolution of the city, and that is crazy.
The difference of it now is there were people back then, and still are, that just want to put a band together to make money. And what I try to do is I try to find an artist that wants to make money so they can work on their artist career, because maybe they're the next name that's on the building that's open next.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the one that's playing at Bridgestone in 5 or 6 years, you know? And so no shade on the guys that just want to put a band together and make money and make a great cover band or a wedding band or whatever. But like, I'm trying to build artists and teach artists how to be better on stage. There are people that are on Music Row that have, record deals, and they're out opening and they're doing 25-minute sets, and they're winded and they can't keep up. But that one of those acts of mine that plays 3.5 hours nonstop will smoke them in 30 minutes on stage. And then the crowd will be like, I need to go see more of this, because they're well seasoned.
Yeah.
You know, they've been groomed to be a great entertainer, not just a songwriter, not just an artist. Because
I think the flip side of that is seeing me, not a musician. Seeing the flip side of that is now, not that we're putting dollar, numbers out there, but knowing, what you make full time now. Yeah. But you still play.
Yeah.
Weekly, you play.
Yeah.
And now you don't have that pressure of that money being the driver of your music, and it's truly your passion.
Yes.
And I don't know, and I'm not just saying this because you're my friend. I'm not just saying this because we're recording right now. I've been on Broadway, started being on Broadway since 2008, off and on, here and there. I don't know that anyone works a room like you. It is truly...
I appreciate it.
It is truly a talent that you have. So you mentioned having a name on the bar.
Yeah.
Shameless plug, where if someone wanted to see the rock star that is Jer Gregg, where and when can we see you?
Usually, but due to traveling and due to other things that are going on with business and stuff like that, usually every Friday night at Casa Rosa on the rooftop, Cantina stage at 6 o'clock. We play 6 to 10 o'clock. I always tell people we usually downbeat around 6:30 after set changeover, and then about 8 o'clock is where the action is. 8 to 10. If you walk into the show from 8 to 10, it is a well-oiled machine. It is go time. The first hour and a half is getting your sound right, building the room, getting the crowd involved. I literally go out to the crowd and walk the room, and I teach them line dancing and silly things. I just walk around, ask them where they're from.
Bullhorns.
They got a megaphone, fake money, pink boas. I just try to include them
Yeah.
And that was something that I learned over the years of playing. Like, people want to be included in the show. Yeah, they do want to watch a show, but they feel so much better when they're like feeling involved and you're out there with them. And so I take that risk and I go out to the crowd, which can be dangerous sometimes. It really can.
Oh, you get groped.
Get groped. I've had guys like, elbow me and stuff. Just think they're funny or try to take my microphone. And there's other stories there, but most people I don't, wouldn't do what I'm doing, but I take the chance and go and do it and try to build the room, and it does. And it changes that room from maybe there's 5 people when we start to now there's 105 people. And by the time we're done, there's 305 people or whatever. So it's packed house. And you came through the other night.
Yeah, I did.
And he came through. I think we were jamming Mr. Brightside.
Yeah, I was like, this is like the perfect intro for me to walk in.
We were jumping and I was hyped. You know, it was like the Reverend himself is here.
Oh, I got surrounded by girls when you like shout me out. It was.
They're like, I don't know who he is, but
he
was a celebrity, and that was it. Though I make people feel like a celebrity in the room, though, too, because they're important.
Yeah.
They're important for being there. Thank you for spending your birthday with us. Thank you for spending your anniversary. Thank you for spending your divorce party here.
Yeah.
You have everywhere else you could go when you came back to see us. So that's
awesome.
That part of the job, keeping that part with it, is a reset button for me every week. Yeah. I get to go play music with my friends and enjoy what I'm doing. Yeah. And then also it is something that the bands that I work with can take that and they go, wow, he's doing it too.
Yeah.
I'm not
You're
just
actually getting out
I'm not
there.
just telling you what I want you to do.
Like it shifts.
Yeah.
It's
a coaching moment. They get to see, and I've had people go, hey, well, you're having trouble with your crowd work. Why don't you come watch one of my shows for a minute?
Yeah.
And see how I'm interacting with people.
The king.
I wouldn't say that, but
I mean, it is something to behold. I definitely recommend anybody if you're downtown on a Friday. It is a very good time. You've been around downtown so long. You, like myself, have seen this city just,
we've seen it, brother.
Chew people up and spin them back out to the whatever small town they came from. Not everyone has that grit and that determination that it takes to come from somewhere like Elwood, and make it here. From the bottom of my heart, I am so glad that you were able to find that grit to stay here.
Yeah,
your friendship has meant a lot to me. This is my favorite kind of episode because now I feel like we could do a whole nother one just based on things you're in, referencing, answering the question. So we'll definitely have to have you on again.
That'd be great.
I appreciate you being here. So if you liked this episode,
that one,
there we go. There it is. I don't normally do this one. If you liked what you heard today, subscribe and follow along. And for the love of Nashville, tune into the next episode.